so much for joining us on another Friday morning. I'm here with my co-host Delaney Bravo with Fiber Mortgage. I'm Angela, almost if we haven't met yet, full-time realtor in the Northeast Florida area with Momentum Realty. How are you doing today, Delaney?
I am good. Despite the gloomy-ish weather that we've had over the last couple of days, sometimes that's nice to just have kind of a chill weather. But I am ready for some sunshine. But I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. The same. I'm one of those people that the weather just definitely, has a lot to do with my mood. So today is a little quiet, but I'm good. I'm good. I woke up early, did my yoga. It's all good.
Ooh, nice. So what?
I know you've been also doing a lot of yoga. That's great.
I know. Namaste. But this show is all about buying, selling, and investing in real estate. Everything Northeast Florida. We talk about local topics. We talk about where the industry and the market is heading. Anything on the real estate side, Angela is your girl. Anything on the mortgage number side, I'm your girl. And we have a pretty pertinent, valuable topic today. So what are we getting into, Angela?
We're getting into addressing the elephant in the room, which is the high interest rates. And whether they're high or not, I think that's just definitely something that has to do with more of a perception than a fact. So we wanted to give you guys some context as to how you could, just understand the information, because if you just listen to the media has a way of just being very inflammatory. They're just, making everyone just go into like a shock or a terror factor. And, when we see these trends, it's important to realize that, these sort of things have happened in the past. So I wanted to just kind of create a little bit more of a better understanding around the interest rate as to, understand whether they're really high or they're not, or they're average. So Delaney, you have a great info that you're going to share with us today to help us understand that better.
Yes. So interest rates, they are kind of that elephant in the room. They have gone up. And the thing to know is that it's kind of like we got spoiled over COVID. COVID turned the world on its head in every single way. And it really affected the economy, obviously. And that affected interest rates. So interest rates were at the lowest they have been in 35 years. So that being said, I mean, even longer than that. That being said, it is hard to go from a 3% interest rate environment to a 7.5% interest rate environment within a couple years. That is a drastic change, but we want to look at the overall historic rate. So if you want to pull up what I have, Angela, we can go through it. I have two different things. And
this one now, or was it this one?
Yep. So this one really quickly, this goes over all of the rates historically from 1970 to present. So not going to dig into this a ton, but just so you can see, in 1970, the rates were in the 7.5 range when it started. That's where we're at now. So we were in the same spot like 50 years ago. So these rates are cyclical. But what is the biggest objection you're hearing, Angela, in regards to the interest rate and buyers who are thinking about moving? Are people saying that, it's just too high? They're at a current house with a lower rate. Like, what are you hearing from buyers?
Yeah, so buyers are concerned as to how much more those payments are going to be now that they're calculated at a higher interest rate. There's also the sense from a seller standpoint that if they have a low mortgage or low rate on their current mortgage, moving, would ultimately result in having a higher rate on the new mortgage. So there's concerns on both sides, I would say.
Absolutely. And just in the 70s, it started at 7.5. It ended at 10, it went to 10% in 74, and it went to 12.9% at the end of the decade. So that is a lot higher. The 80s started at 18.6% and ended at 10%. So all of these rates are higher than we're currently at. The 90s, they started at a 10%, they ended at a 6.5. So again, around where we're at. At the 2000s, that's when we kind of started to see a little bit of a bigger dip. They started at 8.4%. So again, higher than where we're at. And they ended in, in the 5% range. So this is where we started to see shifts in the economy and a lot of things coming down. So if we fast forward all the way through here, we saw about 5% to 7% throughout the 2010s. 2020 to 2023, we had COVID, things went down to 3%. That is not normal. So we just got spoiled. So if you, here is it actually in a chart. So to kind of build up to this, what does this chart kind of tell you as a realtor, Angela? Like, what are you thinking when you see this?
This tells me that if I have a broader perspective, then it's very clear to understand that the rates are not as high as most people think they are. They have been higher, and they could, knock on wood, go higher than they are right now, but they're not the highest that they've been. So you just really have to have a bigger perspective to fully understand that. And I think that's great, something great point that you could get from this graph.
Yes. And if you look here, we are with my little mouse, we are right here. So if you look from 1971 to about 2005, rates were higher than where we're at now. So we are only looking at a lower perspective over the last 15 years. So we have 50 plus years of data to 15 years of data. So we really are not that high. And I wanted to go really quickly. When rates drop, so let's just say rates drop to a 4%, what is going to happen in the market? What are your thoughts on that? How is that going to change the environment? Let's say if rates drop, because I don't think people understand what is going to happen if/when that happens and how that's going to affect them buying a home.
Sure. So the market dynamics completely are very sensitive to this interest rate. So when the rates dropped, the last time they dropped, we saw a huge buyer frenzy wanting to buy the inventory that we had available. And it turns out to be like, multiple offers everywhere. You ultimately, because of that environment, could wind up paying more for the house than what the difference in interest rate would have been. And then there's also the whole atmosphere around that, because it's such a competitive bidding war scenario. Then you have people possibly waiving appraisals, waiving inspections. I mean, it wasn't that long ago we had all of that going on while the rates were in the 3s and the 2s. Now they're more average, but they're not the highest. So yeah, I think that would be the difference in the dynamics.
Absolutely. And if you are somebody who does not have a 20% down and is looking at using a VA loan as a veteran, an FHA loan as, a first-time home buyer, or even down payment assistance, when the rates go down, everyone's going to flood that market, like Angela is saying, and sellers are going to have multiple offers on their homes, and they will not take a government low down payment deal as easily. They would rather accept a cash deal, or they'd rather accept a conventional 30% down deal versus a down payment assistance contract. So you have to think about that. If you want the seller to cover stuff, if you need down payment assistance, the time to buy is now. Marry the house, date the rate. Get into the house. The rates are going to change. If/when they come down, refinance that mortgage, because the rate can change. You can refinance the mortgage, but you can't change the price you paid for it, and you can't change what you negotiate when you buy it. So any questions on numbers, anything, reach out to me, and we're here to help. But all about it is all it is a kind of a perspective shift, like you were saying, Angela.
Absolutely. This is super helpful. That was the main reason why we wanted to bring this out, is just to give you guys a broader perspective. I think a lot of times we're very easy to assess a situation when we have a certain perspective, but we might not realize that there's a broader perspective that we could take. And when we make that just small shift, then you come to realize that these are not the highest rates. They have been higher in the past. Hopefully they won't go higher than they are right now. But at any rate, I will tell you this. It's not the main determining factor as to why you should or should not buy a home. And then I have my slides. Do you want me to go into that now?
Yeah, let's go into it. So while Angela's pulling that up, there are a lot of reasons to buy or sell a home, and she's going to go into some of them. So don't let rates be your only factor here.
Absolutely. So while all of this interest rates do what they do, they go up and down. I mean, that's just the nature of that market. That still should not be the main determining factor. And if you look at transactions that are being done today, or in markets with higher interest rates, you'll come to realize that was not the main determining factors to buying or selling. The reasons why people are moving today is, number one, this has been around forever and it will continue to be closer to family. I'm sure you probably see this with the loans that you're closing now, Delaney. The reasons why people are moving is, one of them would be high up on their list to be closer to family. If it's a young family that might be having children, having the in-laws nearby is super helpful. It's good for the family because now the kids will have their grandparents nearby, and that has nothing to do with the interest rate. Absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So would you really let a high rate get in the way of you moving closer to your family so that you can create memories to last a lifetime? It's all about perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the second thing why people would move is because they move for a job relocation. Hopefully, it's a move up to a better job. So if you have been offered a better job, whether it's, here in Florida or out of state or coming to Florida, you're not going to let an interest rate keep you from taking that job. You're going to keep on living your life. You're going to keep advancing. You're going to keep on developing your career. And yes, while the rates might be doing what they do, it's not the main determining factor as to why you would want to move. Job relocation is still pretty significant. I know the last one we had recently that we closed together, the lady, that was a job relo. She was coming here for work. So, and that's pretty popular here in Jacksonville. We see a lot of job relocations. I'm sure you see that with the mortgage side too.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of people moving here. It's really becoming like a kind of mecca for business and a lot of different industrial home building. Like there's a lot of different industries that are really flourishing right now. So ton of job relocation, but you're right. If you need to relocate for a job, you're most likely selling your current house and then you're going to preferably have some money to put down on a new house, but the rate isn't going to deter you from securing a property for your family to live in. So this is a great one.
Exactly. Now, the other thing is that you also want to understand that when you're buying a home, you're locking in that payment when you buy. Without doing that, the alternative would be to rent, and there's no locking a rental payment at all. Very likely they go up every year. You would never know exactly how much they could go up. You might have an idea where when you buy a home, your interest rate is locked in, which most of the loans are now fixed rates, or if anything, if they might have an adjustment, it's only for the first few years. But being able to lock in that expense is still a great reason to buy. And people are still wanting to take advantage of that, whether the rates are high or not.
Absolutely. The only thing I'll say on that too is somebody I know, their rent went up from $1,150 to $1,650 in literally 1 year. So just be aware, you are locking in that payment for 30 years. Unless rates come down, you refinance and lower your payment, but that payment will never increase. So this is a great one.
Yep. And then the other reason why we see people move, regardless of the interest rate, is moving up or moving down. This has happened to me. I've had a little townhome that was perfect for my husband and I. And then when we had children, we realized we needed more space. There's just no way we now needed to move up. And, unfortunately, we were able to still do that and then keep the townhouse. And later on, we sold it. But anyway, so the main thing is here, this is still going to continue to happen. People are still going to need more space as their family grows or their needs change. So that's always going to be a consistent reason for moving. It has nothing to do with interest rates. And the same with downsizing. Oftentimes we go through the seasons of life where, the house might be full for a couple of years, or a few years, maybe a whole era. And then they start leaving, as they go on to college or, just developing their own careers and that sort of thing. You may think about downsizing. At that point, you might not need the 4,000 square foot home that you once needed when all the kids were there. So if you're downsizing, would you let the interest rate keep you from making that lifestyle change? I sure hope not. And there are still people that are downsizing and upsizing in this market. The other thing was the new seasons of life. So that's just kind of closely tied together. When sometimes this requires that you move, that you get a new house, that you sell your house. So these are all things that are still going to be consistent within, our everyday life that have absolutely nothing to do with interest rates. So the point of it is, while it is something to consider, it's something important that you want to take a look at in terms of, your whole buying process. the interest rate should not be the main determining factor as to why you should buy or sell a home.
Absolutely. Yes. Agree 1000% with all of the things. And this is a huge one too.
Yeah. Oh, and there's one more. The tax savings. Most people don't realize, but that's another huge thing. When you buy a home, I'm not an accountant, but I do know that I've been able to write off my mortgage interest on every home that I've ever owned. And that's still going to be consistent for you. Where as a renter, you don't have any of those tax savings. There's just so many reasons that have nothing to do with the interest rates again. So while the rates might be high to some people, there's still all of these other great reasons why you should buy a home. So just change the perspective and realize that it's still a great time to buy.
Absolutely. Let me see. So that's kind of our spiel today, all of the things about buying a home and all the ways that it is still beneficial and where the current market is. I have some events that we're going to go over really quickly. And if you pull that up. So the first thing is I just literally learned about Jelly Roll, which is quite a funny name, but he is coming to the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. He is kind of like a rapper country kind of mix, super unique and has a really great voice. So that's somebody that is actually coming tonight. Tickets are still available. So something fun to check out maybe for a date night.
Nice.
See, okay, I did this one last week, but just to throw it out there again, because it's really cute. It's really cute. We haven't been for a very like a couple years, but the Spooktacular at the Jacksonville Zoo, super fun. They light it up. They have, kids can come in costumes. Just a super fun thing. Don't go too late though, because you want to be able to see the animals. So go maybe like 4 o'clock. Get all the animals out of the way until like 6, and then when the sun kind of goes down, you can kind of enjoy all the lights and everything.
Yeah, because when it's so dark, it's hard to see the elephants.
Exactly. We want to see the elephants and the giraffes. And I think they close where you can feed the giraffes. Have you ever done that?
Oh, yes. Don't tell me they closed it. That was like the main big thing to go to the zoo for. To feed the giraffes some lettuce. Do they not do that anymore?
No. I know. No, I think they shut it towards the end of the day. So you got to get in there a little bit early. Yep. And the last one, exactly. And the last one, we are on a roll here, the Jacksonville Jaguars. We have a couple games that we're on a good streak here. So the Jags versus the Colts is October 15th, 1 to 4 p.m. this Sunday. So just a reminder, whether you're watching it from the house or going to the actual game, always a fun thing. And one of the benefits of living in Northeast Florida is we have a football team and it's always something fun to do in tailgate. So that's what I got for today.
Awesome. All right. Well, a lot of fun things happening in town this weekend. So I hope you guys enjoyed our show for today. If there's any other topics that you would like for us to cover or any questions that you have, we'd like to make this more interactive. And we'll still be, sharing all the content with you guys. So until next time, remember to be kind to one another, and we'll see you guys next week on our next video. Take care.